Welcome and a happy new year to the latest and greatest episode of Game Rivals. Welcome to Season 3. I am your host, Maxemillian X, and as always with me is the lovable, the huggable, the PlayStation Astro fanboy, Sean Templar. How's it going, Sean?
I'm just shaking my head here, but I'm good. How are you, Maximilian?
I'm okay. It's been, I guess for everybody, it's been a weird year. So, first of all, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast over the past year, and thank you to all the new listeners that we got over the past couple of months. We really appreciate it.
It's been a crazy year, a crazy ride, but to hear people be so enthusiastic and supportive has really, I think, has really motivated us to keep going because, it can be difficult and sometimes there's not a lot to talk about because there's not a lot happening, or the whole industry is working towards this one moment that a new game comes out, or a new console, or two, or three in this case. Count Series S. But yeah, that's basically how it is.
Yeah, that's right. It's the beginning of a new year, which means that there's not a lot because we're still in the holiday season. So there's not a lot of news to talk about, maybe one or two things, but we're going to mostly focus this episode on our predictions for 2021 in gaming. So I don't know if there's anything that you want to bring up news-wise, Sean, that you want to talk about?
Not a lot. I just saw an article the other day in which there's not really like an estimate coming out of Sony, but there are rumors or predictions that the PS5 sold around 3.4 million in the first 4 weeks, and their aim is to sell around 7.6 million before the fiscal year ends, which is in March of 2021 end. And they want to churn out close to 16 to 18 million PlayStation 5s this year. So yeah, those are crazy numbers. Microsoft is not talking about sales figures. They don't do that anymore. Even now with the Series X, they just don't want to talk about it. I think the only thing they do mention is how many Game Pass subscribers they have, which is a lot. But besides that, it's really quiet. I think everybody's just slowly getting back into it and preparing for the gaming goodness that is going to come out this year.
Yeah, for Xbox, Game Pass is the money that always comes, in. So that's like a constant flow of money. It makes complete and total sense for them to be all about, yes, let's talk about that instead of talking about the hardware sales. Even if they were to outsell PlayStation, I don't think they would bring it up again because that is not very much. It brings in the money, but again, they lose a lot of money with the sales of the Xbox Series S and X. So, man, those titles, I'm never ever going to get used to that.
Yeah, the funny thing though is that, and I mentioned this to Gizmo, and he said, "Oh, you're such a big PlayStation fanboy, and it's all Sony, and the rest can't beat it." But like, I was looking online. The scalpers have been selling PlayStations for crazy amounts, but I think a big shipment of Series X's came in, at least in the Netherlands, because I've been seeing Series X's pop up online for sale. But the funny thing is that they go for $550, $600, $625 maybe at the most, whereas with the PS5 it was like $750 for a digital edition and $1,000 for a disc edition. So it's crazy that people are selling their Series X for such a low amount, or at least that they think they can get so little for it. And I think that kind of shows that PlayStation is just so much more popular. And I mentioned this before. It's like, we know Microsoft's going to come out with a huge stable of games in the next few years. That's why they did all the acquisitions. I just wonder if it's not going to be too late, because the way it looks, it's basically like everybody's buying a PS5 or wants to buy a PS5 because the PS4 was the best-selling console this generation. Their friends are all on PS4 or mostly on PS4. Yes, there's crossplay, but I feel that it either doesn't matter or it doesn't get the attention it deserves, causing that boundary that exists to be taken away. So it's still there. I mean, we don't use crossplay when we play Call of Duty. It was this friend of ours on PC. He used to play with us, but that is so irregular that we all just play together, and we're all on PS4. We don't know anybody that has an Xbox that wants to play with us. I wonder if it's not going to be like a situation in which by the time Microsoft comes out with their amazing games, Sony will have come out with great games in the meantime as well, because they are also churning out games, and that it's kind of like a done deal for the Series X, and maybe that's the reason why they are focusing so much on Game Pass, because they kind of know, like, yeah, coming out of this generation, it's not the best for us, so let's just focus on the games on Game Pass so that we can get in massive people there. But then I'd wonder, why put all that effort into creating a console instead of saying we're just going to become a publisher and just publish great games, and if you want to play our games, Game Pass is the way to do it. Yeah. Or maybe like a setup box that you hook up to your TV and you stream it with a controller, because as far as I can see and hear, xCloud is pretty good. So it's not like it's a pretty bad, laggy service.
Yeah, but there also has been a rumor recently that Microsoft is, well, it's not so much a rumor as we know that they're working on something as kind of like a dongle type thing, device that you put in your
like
TV.
A Chromecast, maybe.
Like a Chromecast thing for xCloud. And we know that Phil Spencer has been talking about it. So it's not like as a matter of if it's going to happen, just a matter of when it's going to happen. At least I feel that in that case. And when they do that, I think Stadia will better move over. And Luna never stood a chance at that point, because they have a bigger library, and you don't have to buy games separately to get into that.
Whereas Luna or Game Pass?
No, for Game Pass, because the games in xCloud come with the service. You don't have to buy them separately. At least with Luna, you subscribe if you subscribe to a channel or you have a subscription that you can tack on. You can do just that.
But I like that idea more than Stadia, because with Stadia you buy the game. But the thing is with Stadia, I'm just afraid that if I buy a game on Stadia, Google's eventually going to pull the plug on Stadia and say, like, you know what, it didn't turn out as we wanted to, so we're pulling the plug, and then you just lose all those games.
Yeah.
And with the subscription, you can just say, like, oh yeah, I'll just cancel my subscription to that channel.
Yeah, true. And you don't have to worry about losing your saves, because Ubisoft now has that whole cross-save stuff.
It works pretty well, actually.
It's just really crazy that they've done that, by the way.
Yeah, it's funny that I used it for Watch Dogs Legion, because I bought it on PS4 initially, and then you can upload your save from the PS4 version to Ubisoft Connect, and then you go to the PS5 version, and then you download it, and then I think the save is kept in two places. It's kept on the PlayStation, so it can go to PlayStation Plus cloud saves, but it's also put into Ubisoft's cloud, Ubisoft Connect, so it works. The downloading of the save and uploading of the save takes a little while, but besides that, I was surprised on how well it worked, because before I bought Watch Dogs Legion, I was like, I don't know if I should buy it on the PS4 or wait for the PS5 version. And then they came out with the Ubisoft Connect article. I'm like, yeah, but this sounds too good to be true. I mean, Ubisoft and promises. But eventually it worked. So I was like, wow, that's really nice. They just delivered on it.
Well, the extreme version of that is I saw I don't remember the YouTuber's name that I saw do it. Oh, right. It was Beat 'em Ups on YouTube. And he showed off that he was how it works for switching from Immortals from the Switch version to his PlayStation version. and that was pretty much the same deal, and it was working seamlessly.
Oh, you can
It-
bring it
yeah.
cross-platform.
It's cross-platform.
That's nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the cool thing is, he's like, okay, so if I want to play it when it's really to make it look really pretty, I just transfer the save and then play on my PlayStation 5.
Oh, that's nice.
And then when he's done, he transfers it back to his Switch so that he can play, like in bed or whatever.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. That's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as pretty, but if you're just playing on a little screen, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So,
I like being able to take a game on the go, and then, I mean, it kind of fulfills the promise of enjoying a game in the best way possible, and that's both on the go as well as on home. Because on the go, the Switch is probably the best way to experience it, and when you're at home, maybe a PlayStation or an Xbox would be the best way to experience it. Wow, that's really nice.
yeah. And guess what? Ubisoft did it before Microsoft even had a chance.
Yeah, I'm just wow.
I mean, okay, maybe not because of xCloud, but considering that xCloud is only available on Android at the moment, yeah, kind of Ubisoft kind of beats them to the punch because it is literally cross-platform compatible.
Wow. I mean, like, I'm just shocked here. Wow.
Yeah, Ubisoft is doing some really weird stuff, but it's really cool, and I'm digging it.
The only thing is that you'd have to own the game on both platforms.
That is the only thing.
Okay.
But for example, if you're playing on PC and you have a subscription to Uplay, then it doesn't matter. I mean, you can probably. I mean, especially now after the holidays, I'm pretty sure you could still find like a really good deal. I almost bought Immortals for Switch because they were selling it for, what was it, $37?
The Ubisoft is having a crazy sale. I bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla on the PlayStation 5 for, I think it was 48 euros.
Yeah.
And normally it's 70, because the funny thing is the day before I wanted to buy it, I was playing a game, which I'll talk about in a bit, and I said to myself, like, no, I need to finish this game first before I buy Valhalla. And because I finished that game, and then the day after I bought Valhalla, I got it for the cheap discount. If I hadn't done that, I'd pay full price, and I would be pretty mad because I would have figured out that Valhalla's discounted. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that's the same thing. I almost did it, but I still have a lot of games to finish on the Switch. So you know what? No, it's fine. It's fine. There'll be many more sales. I'm still on the fence on maybe I should get a subscription to Uplay and do it for like a month, but it's $15 and like $15 for a month. I'm still on the fence. I'll see. Maybe after I finished a couple of games, I'll do it. I really want to play Watch Dogs Legion. I want to check out Valhalla as well, and I want to check out Immortals as well. But I really want to play and finish Watch Dogs Legion when I have the chance. So, yeah. So I mean, outside of that, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of news. I mean, that's, I guess, the biggest thing. The biggest thing in quotes. You can't see quotes because it's audio. So I'm sorry.
No, it's not audio.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that, at least to me, that was of kind of value was we finally got to see more of the Super Nintendo World park that is opening February 4th, actually, in Universal Studios Japan. And it looks really sweet. They have really cool interactions that you can do with this power band that they call it. You can pick it up in the park, and there are missions that you can do in cooperation with the app. So the app will tell you, these are the places that you can go and do these things. And they had this cool vignette of Miyamoto-san actually showing off a few of these things. The only one that he didn't show off was, of course, the Mario Kart ride, which I'm really looking forward to because they actually put out an ad kind of showing off how it's supposed to work, and it looks really cool. I can't wait to experience it someday, but I know that it's not going to be anytime soon, but someday. And someone also took footage of one of the other rides, which is a Yoshi ride, but that stuff uh, got taken down really quickly because Nintendo works really quickly when it comes to that stuff like that. But I did see it, and oh boy, it looks really fun. Like, it's a slow ride, but you can see that they put a lot of attention to details in it, and a lot of love went into it, and it just looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, maybe someday. If you can find the ad, I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere online. Um, yeah, I guess that's like the biggest, not even the biggest. That's just a thing that happened. So I guess that's it for news.
I guess so. I mean, let's just switch over to predictions because we can do something with that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anything?
I have enough. I mean, I'm just holding off on my volume because there's a vacuum cleaner going off in the background.
Okay,
So
I'll
maybe
go.
you
I'll
want
go
to
first.
go. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So let's see what we got. So we have a bunch of things here. We have a list of stuff that's supposed to come out this year, right? I'm just gonna start with the most obvious one, which is Halo Infinite. Which is, we know they're saying that they want to launch it this fall, which is fine. I'm hoping that they can do it because it also happens to be the 20th anniversary for the series. So apparently it's been 20 years since Master Chief graced our consoles.
Oh, wow.
And our collective minds.
Wow.
So I don't know if they were planning on doing something big with Halo, considering that they were aiming for it to be a launch title for the Xbox Series. So pushing it out was maybe for the best, because now they can really, like, if they're able to finish the game and have it be as polished as people expect it to be, they can really go out with the celebration for their 20th anniversary.
That's what I mentioned. Like, I wonder if during that gameplay reveal last year, so strange saying last year because it's only been 2 days, but like, if during that gameplay reveal they did a couple of months ago, if people hadn't reacted so badly, if they would have just brought out the game, because they've said multiple times, because of your feedback, blah, 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 we really want this game to be the best version that it can be, and that's why we're postponing this game. But I wonder if the backlash, to put it that way, hadn't been so big, if they just wouldn't have gone out and said, like, oh, well, people like it, they don't think it looks bad or something, let's just release it as it is.
I don't know. Considering the turnover they've had at 343 and at Microsoft Studios over this game, I don't think so. Because even if the reaction wasn't as bad as it was, I'm sure that people that are working on the game weren't happy with the results themselves. So why? So you can do one of two things. You can either complain about it, or you can leave the project and the company altogether, which it seems people did that. So if it wasn't that, I think they would say, well, we don't feel that it's at where we feel that's okay, so we're going to take more time to bring it out. That would be something that I think that they would do. So in that regard, I'm not 100% sure, but if they do make it, I think we're going to... This year, by the way, has a lot of anniversaries, so it's going to make predictions a lot of fun. But yeah, this is one of them.
Anniversary, right?
Zelda's 35th is up, and Metroid's 30th.
Wow. Well, that's good. Wow, that's going to be an exciting year for Nintendo fans.
And Pokemon's 25th.
Yeah, but they'll probably do... Is Pokemon Snap not coming out this year?
Pokemon Snap didn't have a date, but I think the aim was 2021.
Okay. And
I'm pretty sure... Oh my goodness, I hate that they called it this. New Pokemon Snap, because that is the title, people. Oh, is it time to go?
No, I was doing some laundry and then put in a timer so it doesn't sit in too much.
Okay. I know.
After this.
I gotcha.
You
I
know,
know. I know
adult
what you mean.
stuff. Grown-up stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least in terms of that, I think if they time it right and they're able to finish the game, I think they're going to do a really big thing with not just Halo Infinite, but just the Halo franchise in general. If things go back to somewhat normal, I can assume that they will also do something like a concert to commemorate the event.
That'd be nice.
Because one of the things that people do associate with the Halo franchise is its orchestral score. So that would be really cool for Halo fans and a really cool thing for Microsoft fans.
Yeah. The funny thing is that a lot of news outlets have said that getting an idea around how the game has been strange because there are no PR events people can go to get like a preview build of the game. Developers have either resorted to going into like a Discord channel and showing a game off to people, but the journalists not actually being able to play the game, or I don't know, something like I think in the case of Cyberpunk they used a GeForce Now kind of solution in which the game was running off a high-end PC, but you took over that PC remotely and played the game, which is still a bit odd. So yeah, I mean, I wonder because they said that the multiplayer is a free component of Halo Infinite, and apparently it's going to be kick-ass. Well, multiplayer always was good in Halo. I don't know. I mean, I talked to a friend of mine. He has a Series X, and he said, "When are you buying a Series X?" And I'm like, "Well, normally I wouldn't, but to be honest, maybe for Halo Infinite, I would."
Why an X though?
Because you see, I've thought about a Series S, but you come to that point where you're like, if I have a 4K TV and I want to be able to play everything in 4K, and I mean, I'm not sold on the Series S part because it's consistently, it looks like a subpar experience. Like all the games that I've heard so far about are not even running at like full HD 60 FPS on the Series S. Is always like a middle road kind of solution, whereas the way Microsoft kind of promised it, or at least the way marketing pointed out to, was, well, Series X will do 4K, Series S will do 2560, but there are almost no games that do 2560, and if they do it, it has all these small caveats to it. Instead of saying, no, it's just a full game, all the graphics options are enabled, it's just 2560, because I thought it was basically going to be a 1X, but faster. But it's turning out to be something completely different because it's, I think, weaker than a 1X. So it's really strange because I thought, oh, well, they can't go below a 1X. But apparently they did. And that's why it's getting this crazy. I mean, like the other day, a friend of ours got a Series X. They bought it through Bull. And then the same day I went online and looked, and there was just plenty of Series S stock available. I was like, buy now, get it tomorrow. If you have select, you can get it tonight. I'm like, this doesn't look good. Doesn't sound promising, And the funny thing is up to the launch of the Series X, you could still buy a Series S. I'm like, no, but this is supposed to be your middle ground console. This is not working.
Oh,
it's
no.
kind of sad,
Yeah. That is really sad. But so I get your point in that, but I also feel that not everybody has upgraded to a 4K TV yet. So I guess for those who have not upgraded yet, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're going to upgrade in the future, it might. I also feel that if that's going to be the case, I think it has to do with just developers either finding a way to make it work on the Series S. I think that's the main thing, because I'm pretty sure they all focused on getting it up and running to its best ability on the Series X over the S. And they didn't put any focus on that.
The funny thing there is that a lot of games run better on the PS5 than on the Series X. I mean, I think just now they've been able to kind of get the the Xbox Series X version up to par with the PS5 version of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Dirt 5 had the same thing, that the less power console has the best experience. And that's so contradictory, because you'd expect it to be the other way around, you know? And I mean, like, I think the further we get into this generation, we'll really start to see the difference between raw horsepower and, what was it, 15, 16 teraflops of compute, what they're talking about, up against, or was it 13? I don't know. Up against 10, but Sony uses the variable frequency, which should be able to kind of give you the same amount or consistent power instead of going up and all the way. So I don't know. I mean, I know some people they are just looking at the numbers and they're just talking about, yeah, but the Xbox Series X is more powerful, so it's the better console. And I deliberately do not go into those conversations, because I'm like, these people don't see the full picture, and it's like talking to a wall. You won't be able to convince them. Instead of saying like, yeah, but what use is the most powerful console in the world to you if you don't have any games to play on it? And if I throw that argument, they're like, but, you know? So I try not to go into those conversations, but yeah, I mean, the thing is besides Halo Infinite, there isn't a lot that's coming to Series X this year.
Not that we know of. And that's, I think, also part of the reason why we're doing the predictions is that there's not a lot that there are games that have been confirmed coming out this year, right? So that is one. Hogwarts Legacy, we know that's one. We know that Horizon Forbidden West is also one that's coming out this year. When this year, I don't know.
I hope 12 minutes. I think 12 minutes is coming out this year. I really want to play that game.
That was still not out?
No, it's coming sometime in 2021. But I mean, that game looks amazing.
I thought it was. I mean, I know it's an indie title, so I thought it was like a launch title for the Series X.
Oh, here it says sometime in 2021.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that game looks just, I don't know. I like the idea.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of the reasons I'm like, maybe I should get Game Pass when that comes out.
Yeah, I'll probably
and then play it on the PC.
Yeah. Yeah, the funny thing you mentioned, Horizon Forbidden West, is that a lot of people are looking forward to Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, if Ragnarok's going to be the name. But I'm just afraid that Ragnarok's going to get pushed, because the thing that they're talking about is that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be a holiday game. So it's going to be Q3 or Q4. And no way that they're going to release God of War in the first 6 months of the year. If they're smart, they'll do it, like in last time in April. I don't think that game is that far along. I mean, Horizon has more time behind it. But I'm afraid that God of War is going to get pushed into 2022. On one side, I wouldn't mind. At the other side, I'm like, yeah, but then don't announce it. Then announce it this year and say it's coming out next year, instead of saying like, oh, we have one more surprise for you. And it's Boy. And I'm like, yeah, but Boy is not coming out for the next 2 years. I mean, it doesn't sound plausible.
Well, that's what we call creating buzz. And honestly, outside of Sony, fans are lucky because they at least have titles that they can play on the PlayStation 5 that is made specifically for the PlayStation 5. But Microsoft didn't. And I feel that they felt the need to get the hype as high as possible for the PlayStation 5. And that's why they announced it.
I don't know, because
that's literally the only reason.
But there's this crazy rumor floating around that Sony has a huge stable of games they haven't announced yet, purely because they were kind of using it to counter the Halo Infinite launch. But because that didn't happen, they were like, oh, well, we then don't have to announce this. We can keep those to a later point. And one of those announcements is a Metal Gear Solid remake of the first Metal Gear, done by Bluepoint. Another one is a Silent Hill game coming exclusively to the PlayStation 5. There is like some crazy stuff in there. I don't know to what extent it's true, but if it is, that's some pretty crazy stuff.
So what? They got the license to do it then?
Apparently, it's been in development at Bluepoint for 3 years. It's a deal they made with Konami. The game director is apparently Mark Cerny. He's got the blessing of Kojima. Those are the rumors that are floating around. And it's not a strange rumor because Konami's all in on pachinko, I think, and there are barely games they release. So I think if they get like a huge bag of money from Sony saying, hey, we want some of your IPs exclusively on the PlayStation, here's a huge pile of money, they're like, where do we sign? Because they rarely bring out any. Can you name one game?
PES.
Yeah, besides PES. And the funny thing with PES is they did something really good there. They said, yeah, we don't have enough content to justify a full release for $60. So we're going to bring out an expansion pack that will just have all the new names and the teams and updated rosters. That's going to be $30. And next year we'll be bringing out, so this year, a full PES, which is actually taking advantage of new hardware as well, which is like a fully fledged game. I'm like, whoa, that is just amazing. I wish FIFA did that, because I know people that play FIFA and they say like, yeah, EA is all in on Ultimate Team. They just want to make a load of money on the booster packs with the cards and stuff like that.
I was just about to say that. It's like, EA, are you listening? You can do it this way, still make money off it, and not piss people off.
Yeah, I mean,
it's that simple.
I don't understand. Like, FIFA is like all sports games are this. They are the perfect example of a live service game you can do well, because basically you bring out the game and you charge $60. And then every year you bring out an expansion pack for $30, which includes updated rosters and whatnot. But at the same time, in those gaps, you can just do content updates, adding new features to the game, because the problem is those teams generally get, I think, like a year to develop a game that they charge $60 for. And then, I mean, I don't play FIFA anymore, but from what I've heard, it's just the changes are so small that they could have easily added that in an update or an expansion instead of a full-fledged release. I mean, like, I think people would seriously like this, because you can just give people a lot of great content. You can give your team a lot of time to develop something good, because when a game comes out, we know that the team always splits up in two. You get the live team, which is a smaller team that just maintains the game and works on smaller features. And you have the main team that just does something else. And if you do this for FIFA, you can probably, I mean, look at what Activision is doing. They churn out a new Call of Duty every year, but the way they do it is that they have 3 or 4 studios working on a game each, so that every Call of Duty game gets 2 to 3 years of development time, making it a good experience. I don't know if people are getting tired of Call of Duty, but still, you know, every game is unique.
That's true. I'm actually kind of curious, like, how the community is picking up on Cold War, by the way. I'm not hearing a lot. That's me.
I played the free multiplayer week, and it is a completely different game compared to Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare just plays so smooth. And, I mean, the gunplay and everything is really nice. And we can't get into Cold War. So we tried it a couple of times, but I almost threw my controller at the wall. And that's enough for me to say, like, okay, I'm not going to play this game.
I have no opinion on it. I played the free week. I did play the free week. I actually made space on my PlayStation 4 hard drive and played a couple of days. And it does feel different. The multiplayer, it's not. At least it wasn't really something that I was used to, because the locomotion is different in that game. I think that's one of the things that you can. There are things that you can do in Cold War that you can't do in Modern Warfare that I was not used to, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't feel like if it's better or it's worse or
it's a different game.
It's different.
Feel that in every sense of it. I mean, they have subtle changes that movement. So if you push the stick forward, you'll walk slower, but you'll also create less noise, which is really nice. When you slide over the ground, it takes you longer to get out of that slide. So you can't just slide, get up, slide, get up, slide, get up, which is more realistic. But, I mean, maybe it's because I couldn't play hardcore, and I always play hardcore. And because I couldn't play hardcore, I needed to play core, and I hate core because sometimes you have to dump a whole magazine in somebody, and I just with hardcore it's like 2-3 bullets and it's done, And because hardcore was not in the free week, I was like, yeah, but I can't play this, man, and that's maybe what put me off.
So maybe if you're able to play in hardcore, you maybe see a difference enough to get you over the hump.
I don't know. I mean, like the setting really is nice. I love the setting. It's just that but like also the same what they did with Warzone now. So they brought out an update which is supposed to tie Warzone on Modern Warfare and Black Ops together. So you have Black Ops weapons in Warzone. You can unlock them in Warzone, but you can't use them in multiplayer. So only if you have Black Ops, because then you can use those in the Black Ops multiplayer. And as well as the Battle Pass, you can buy the Battle Pass, but if you unlock things that are specific to Black Ops and you don't have Black Ops, you can't use the unlocks. So what's the use of buying the Battle Pass for Modern Warfare if I can't use it?
That's a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean...
I guess, I understand why. It's just so weird.
You and me both.
I will say this, though. I do legit want to check out the single player just for the Amsterdam level.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen clips of NPCs talking Dutch, and that is still so weird. Because almost every game you play, it's in English, or unless you're me and you play JRPGs, you choose the Japanese language track. But to hear Dutch in a game never gets not weird.
I mean,
it's funny and it's really cool, and they're having actual conversations. So that's one thing. At least it's that, because I've heard it in other games before. The rare times then they do, and it's just one-liners, and you're like, oh, they spoke a line of Dutch. Cool.
But it's the same like in Assassin's Creed. They've done it for years, in which they go to they have a country or a language that their characters are supposed to speak. So, for example, in Odyssey, they're in Greece. So what they'll do is, and they do this with every Assassin's Creed game, they'll the whole game will be in English. All the dialogue and the voice acting will be in English. But then they'll throw in some Latin words, like when they're going to swear or something. And then in the subtitles, you can see what it's supposed to mean. And I'm like, but don't do that. That's like saying, we're an authentic Greek setting game and we use Greek words. And it was like, no, man, because it breaks the experience. I mean, I had the same thing with, and I don't know if it's still possible on the PS4, but I know on the PS3, games would be localized for Dutch as well. So the first time I played Uncharted, Nathan's, what was it called? Drake's Fortune, the first one, my PlayStation was in Dutch. So I start playing the game, and the character says, "Kom Drake, we gaan." And I'm like, it says, "Hey Drake." The voice acting was in Dutch. Yeah, but it said like, "Kom Drake, we gaan." And I thought like, and it means, "Hey Drake, let's go." And I thought like, no, we're not going anywhere. We're going back to English. We're not going to play this whole game in Dutch. And I quit the game and I switched to English.
Oh God, that sounds like such a terrible experience.
Oh my God, imagine how I felt with that controller in my hand, super pumped to play this game, and I hear, "We gaan." I'm like, we're not going anywhere. We're going to English right now. Yeah, I mean, oh my God.
Oh no, that's so bad.
I know Ratchet and Clank was in Dutch, but I mean, with those games, I can imagine, because it's like a family game, or it looks like a Pixar animation movie. So I can't imagine people wanting to play those games with their kids in Dutch. But imagine Mario saying, "Woohoo, we gaan," I don't know, and like that would be such a horrible experience.
Oh my God. I know that, like, for example, Animal Crossing New Horizons is in Dutch, but that doesn't have voice acting. It's just text.
Yeah.
And even that makes me like kind of cringe. Yeah. But oh my goodness, it had Dutch wow, that is crazy.
I think a lot of PS3 games had Dutch voice acting. And it's just but it's the same like when you play a game now, I mean, if your PlayStation is in Dutch, all the games text gets localized in Dutch, so all the menus and stuff like that are also in Dutch. I sometimes see
Yep.
people sharing stuff, and I'm like, why are you playing this in Dutch? Why?
Because it's easier for them. I
But
get
sometimes
that, but
things get lost in translation. So they talk about a mechanic or something you have to use. I'm like, I have no idea what this is. And then you switch to English. You're like, wow, is this what they meant? Why didn't they use another word for this?
FYI, we're both native speakers, so that's not the problem.
Yeah.
Just before people think like we're not native speakers, we are.
Yeah, we are.
It's just the Dutch language.
No, we're not going anywhere, Drake. We're going.
No, thank you.
Oh
my goodness. I mean, again, A+ for effort. I'm not dissing that or anything. It's just it's more interesting if you do it as kind of a feature than the main attraction. Let me just put it that.
I wonder if it's like for a lot of games, French and Italian and a lot of games are localized in those games as well. I wonder if it's maybe more common for those people because, as far as I can remember, since the existence of, let's say, the PlayStation 1 era or maybe the PS2 era, a lot of games have been localized in German, French, Spanish, stuff like that. And Dutch was like a one-off language, and that really was a big thing with the PS3 era. So I think maybe for other languages it's a bit more common than for our small country to have Dutch localization.
If it's a European game, odds are they are available in different languages. That's something that I found out a couple of years ago even with the retro games. For example, Secret of Mana, my favorite game of all time, has a German version, like a German language version that they sold in Germany. They back when Dragon Ball Z was popular and they were bringing out games on the Super Famicom, the only countries that got Dragon Ball fighting games were France and Spain, and they were in French and Spanish. So yeah, I mean that's crazy that even back then they were doing it. It's just that Dutch is really rare unless it's aimed at children.
Yeah.
Then they'll put in the effort to do. Like, for example, Smurfs games, they're always in all European languages. Anything that's aimed at children is always in all European languages because they have to be able to sell it to all European languages, and the kids should be able to understand it. The only outlier for that is Pokemon. Pokemon is available in a whole bunch of languages, including 2 versions of Chinese, traditional and Mandarin, and even in Russian, but not in Dutch.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, again, Dutch, the only people that speak it are like half of Belgium, the Netherlands, and the Dutch Caribbeans. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, another game I'm looking forward to is because we had like this huge side tangent. Is I guess you do that because there's not a lot to talk about, so we just talk about stuff that are on our minds. Returnal, the game made by Housemarque.
Did that have a date?
Yeah, it got a release date recently. It's coming out March 19th, and it looks really cool. I mean, as I said before, it reminds me of like a Mass Effect Andromeda meets something like Alien, and it's kind of the same as like with 12 Minutes. You're stuck in a death loop, but every time you die, something in the world or the world itself changes. And they've shown a little bit more gameplay because they're doing a podcast on their own YouTube channel, and they showed a little bit more gameplay. The game looks amazing, and combat looks pretty cool. I got some Vanquishy vibes from it because the character also has a suit that can jetpack around and stuff like that. That's looking really, really cool. I wonder, it's almost it's 2 months out, and then we get it. So yeah, I think we're also going to get Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart soon because at the time they said it will come out in the launch window of the PS5. So I think it's either this month or next month that we'll get Ratchet & Clank. which I'm excited for. Normally I'm not, but for some reason I am for this one. I always did like them. I didn't play them all, but they always looked really, really pretty.
I am curious about it, just more of the technical aspect of it, because I think outside of Astro's Playroom, this might be the other game that really takes advantage of the full PlayStation 5 DualSense experience.
I think so as well.
So I'm curious about that specifically for that aspect. Have I ever touched a Ratchet and Clank game? I don't think so.
You got one for free with PS Plus, at least if you claimed it or not.
I might have claimed it. I do not remember. Oh, and speaking of which, I thought I claimed the Nathan Drake collection. Apparently, I haven't, or I have to double check, because I was checking it a while ago. I was like, why can't I find the Nathan Drake collection? But I'd have to double check, because if I don't, I'm gonna be a little bit sad, because I was thinking of putting that on my to-do list for 2021.
I have the Nathan Drake collection on disc as well as digital, so I can lend you the disc version.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another game at least I'm really looking forward to, is Kenna Bridge of Spirits.
Oh, I cannot wait.
That trailer was so good, and yet we haven't heard stuff since. The only thing that we know is that they delayed the game.
They have been,
even though they didn't really give us a release window.
Yeah, they said this year, but they have been releasing more screenshots recently. Also, more in the dark and stuff like that. I think I saw a few on their Instagram channel as well for Ember Labs, and it looks really, really pretty. But I mean, with these kind of games, I'm always a bit cautious, because it can look amazingly beautiful, but if it doesn't have the gameplay to back it up, it becomes nothing more than a really great tech demo. And that's why I think, for example, something like Astro surprised a lot of people, because everybody was thinking, oh yeah, that's just a tech demo to show off the DualSense. But it turned out to be a great game you got for free, and it was just really fun.
Yeah. And I think Sony have finally embraced Astro as their mascot, because if you really think about it, Sony has had a mascot identity crisis since forever, because they technically lost all the mascots that they got, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. I think for some time they tried to bank on Medieval.
Yeah, they lost a lot of games in the PS3 era, which were kind of iconic for PlayStation, such as Final Fantasy and Grand Theft Auto and Crash Bandicoot. Like a lot of games that have been traditionally exclusive on PlayStation just went multi-platform. And I think that they tried to kind of build their own mascot. And I think for the PS3 era, that was Nathan Drake kind of. And for the PS4 era, it's been difficult, because they've had so many great games, but I mean, we got 3 Uncharted games in one generation on the PS3, but we didn't get any sequels of any games in the same generation, or at least that I can think of. I mean, we got...
Other than God of War, you mean?
We got one God of War on the PS4. We got one Horizon on the PS4, one Infamous. Okay, maybe 2 Uncharted. I don't know if you count Lost Legacy. We got one Ghost of Tsushima, one Last of Us. So we didn't get a lot of games sequeled in the PS4 gen, whereas with the PS3 it was 2 Infamous games, 3 Uncharted games, a couple of Ratchet and Clank games. So there was less mascot building, to put it that way. And yeah. I think if you have to pick one, if you want a really strong female character, you'd go for Aloy, or Ellie. If you want a real strong male character, you'd either go with God of War, Kratos. Kratos, I think.
Yeah, I guess Kratos would fit that bill, but Joel fits that bill too.
Yeah, I guess so. Or I don't know. I mean, the other day I was talking to someone and I said, The Order 1886, it came out pretty early in the PlayStation's life cycle, and that game it still looks amazingly beautiful. And it's such a shame that they didn't do more with that game, purely because it was, I think, it really wanted to show off what the PS4 was capable of, and it looks amazing. It had this really cinematic experience. It was just a really short game, and it really restricted you. So it had like this: we have a path, and a linear path, and you can only follow this path. You cannot deviate from this path. And I think a lot of people had issues with that, because that whole world would have been an amazing sequel.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what that brings? We also have the sequel, and I'm saying it sequel. I'm not calling it Breath of the Wild 2 anymore. I will explain myself and what we've been playing. But the sequel to Breath of the Wild, basically, like we just said, 35th anniversary of the Zelda franchise. If they're not bringing it out this year, I don't know what they've been doing, because they've been plugging at this game for, let me see, at least 4 years now. Because Breath of the Wild came out in March of 2017, so 18, 19, 20. Yeah, so three and a half years now. And if they're using the same engine, if they're using the same architect, it shouldn't be taking that long, unless they're planning to simultaneously release it with the 35th anniversary. I guess we'll find out after March, because that's when all the 35th anniversary Mario and the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem stuff ends. And that's when everything is supposed to begin. So I think after March, leading up to E3, we should be hearing more about that sequel.
What is E3 again?
June?
No,
I mean, like in the June period. Oh, what is E? Don't be like that.
I genuinely wonder if we're gonna get an E3 this year, because if one thing has been proven last year is that a lot of developers, a lot of publishers can be really flexible and also creative on just doing their own events. And I mean, if they do even a digital event only, I mean, I liked the Ubisoft Forward events. I liked the State of Plays or the PlayStation showcases. I didn't watch a lot of directs, but directs have always been good. Microsoft has some work to do with their stuff, but they'll get there. I mean, like, I think it has shown that everybody can be flexible and creative. And I wonder if something like E3 is necessary at this point, because it just costs a lot of money, and they can save a lot of money by not doing it.
Well, that's from our perspective, right? It's like, what's the point? But the point of E3 has always been, and until proven otherwise, always will be a place where smaller developers, not just big developers, but smaller developers can also come and show off their games to not just game publications, but to publishers. If there's a developer out there that wants to show off their game for publication through like a publisher like EA Origins, that's the place where it's happening. Now, they've been doing it over the past year. I don't know. I'm assuming that all of it is done remotely. But on the one part, I feel they can, if the ESA gets their act together and does an all digital thing where they coordinate stuff with, the publishers and the developers out there to showcase their games to us, and in the background also allow a way for publications and other industries to meet one another and interact with one another and make contacts that way, I think that they have a home run, because that's part of the reason why GDC exists. It's to learn about game development, but also to network, to interact, to meet people, to exchange ideas, but also get deals. So I'm curious how both are going to work in that regard. Both GDC is supposed to happen, I think, in March. As far as I can tell, we haven't heard anything about that. I'll have to check that later. E3, who knows how that's going to happen? I don't know. I really hope it's going to be something interesting, mostly for the smaller developers, so they'd at least get a chance to get showcased. I mean, if they're not if they're not being published by, say, for example, Devolver Digital, they're not getting a showcase during E3. So I don't know. For me, I hope E3 is still a thing. I hope the ESA really does get their act together and make it something worthwhile. And I hope that in doing so, they are able to get, Jeff Keighley or whatever back in the fold and help. Maybe they should just be like, you know what? From the presentational aspect, Jeff Keighley, just do it for us. I think that would be the best thing for them to do. And then have the ESA just handle all the back office stuff, all those meetings that they tend to organize and stuff like that. Do that.
Yeah,
I think most people would agree with that, and then just have everybody else do their own like presentation thing, like Ubisoft Connect and Nintendo Direct and State of Play.
I just wonder if you want to publish a game, if you don't need to. As an indie developer, there's so many ways to get your game out there these days. If you actually need to get into a space like an E3 to talk to a publisher, or if you can't just say like, well, there's the Epic Game Store, there's Steam Early Access, there's EA Originals. There are so many more ways to get your game out there that maybe that the traditional model of game publishing is becoming obsolete unless you have like a AAA game and you have a lot of funding, or you need a huge marketing campaign. I mean, the funny thing is I listen and watch this podcast called Play, Watch, Listen. I've mentioned it a couple of times. It's with Alana Pierce and Troy Baker. And one of the persons on there is Mike Bithell, who's a game director. And he made games like Thomas is Alone and John Wick Hex. And I think during the lockdown last year, they made a game which is a solitaire game, and they used, for example, Greg Miller is also in that game. But the funny thing is they made the game. I don't know if I'm 100% correct, but from what I understood is they made the game while they were in lockdown, and then eventually they brought the game out on early access. And inadvertently, I don't think it was his intention to do it that way, but just he mentioned it a couple of times on their podcast, saying like, hey, the game's going to come out, it's early access. So he kind of used the podcast both as a way to market the game, but also as a way to give people insight on how they came up with the game. Because that's one of the cool things about their podcast, is because they're all from the industry, they can give all sorts of insights in which you normally don't get as a consumer. And because of that, that game became a huge success on Steam. Because of course, he's done a lot on his own Twitter, and people like his games. But I think that because he used so many different ways to market his game and just bring it out as an early access game on Steam, and they didn't even charge a crazy amount, and the game is good. I never knew solitaire games could be good. But apparently, the game is what they would call a success.
Yeah, I told you about Pocket Card Jockey, but you don't own a 3DS, so yeah, you can play it and experience that awesomeness.
Yeah, I mean, like, but that shows that it just that maybe the traditional models is over. Like, I liked the Summer Game Fest that Jeff Keighley did. The only thing I didn't like is that it was spread out through weeks, and there were multiple events, and the calendar was completely mixed up. It was so confusing that I just didn't know what to look at or when. That I thought, like, okay, but this is just confusing, you know?
To be fair, let's give him credit, because he was able to organize all of that in, a span of weeks? Like a month at most? So I still feel it's impressive. If he actually had time to organize something like that, if he were to do... He said if he were to do Summer of Games again, he would tackle it a little bit more differently than he did it this time around. And I feel that now that he's done it at least once, he'll be able to figure out how to make a way more compact, a slightly more compact, what is the word I'm looking for? Schedule. That's the word I was looking for. Schedule. I didn't hate the fact that it was spread over, I think it was spread over 2 months. Because, well, you're sitting at home and it's summer in Royal Daleshire. What are you going to do during a pandemic? Am I right, folks? But yeah, I feel that if he can pack that all into one single month and then have all the necessary events around it come together, it would work just fine. Again, I would also like it if the ESA would just fully hire Jeff Keighley and just give him a blank check and let him go ham on what E3 is supposed to be, whether we're still in a super like lockdown pandemic state or not.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I miss the excitement that an E3 brings, because you always know in advance that, hey, there are these press conferences happening, and then you get surprised by all sorts of games. But at the same time, I mean, Sony surprised a lot of people with their showcase and the games they showed off there. I mean, that worked really well for me from the comfort of my home. So why? I mean, yeah. And I think like those events are, I mean, E3 press conferences are watched by millions of people around the world. So they know that it will be watched. It's not like that they hope that a lot of people will watch it.
Yeah.
I would say like, hey, let Jeff Keighley just do like a 2-week event, and then have the press conferences be before that event, and then maybe he can have some people over to go a little bit more in depth on certain games that publishers want to show off, and then it's done.
Yeah. The other thing that you have to take into it that we don't tackle at all or even talk about is, for the smaller developers, the reason why they seek publishers to publish their games is that they basically fork over the money for marketing. You know, if you want to do a big marketing campaign, you can do a word of mouth. And for Mike Biddle, it's handy because he has he is established, right?
Yeah.
He has games out that are good. I've played Thomas Was Alone. It's fun. Challenging. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the other game that you're talking about, right? The Solitaire Conspiracy, and it looks interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely gonna pick it up because I want to see what it's all about, because it looks.
It kind of has this spy game kind of feel to it. I'm really like.
It's flipping Solitaire.
I know. So but the funny thing is it's doing really well. I mean, I think the reviews are pretty positive, and a lot of people are excited by it. And I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I can handle Greg Miller, because he's a cool guy, but he's a little bit too intense at times. I know that he's hosted events and panels, and I'm like, oh, dude, you just are sometimes a little bit too intense. But that's Greg Miller, you know.
I feel like this game you could have easily put it in as a mini game in Cyberpunk, and nobody would bat an eye because of all the neon in this game.
Yeah.
And at least they'd have a working game in there.
Oh man, don't go there.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. That was a low blow. Low blow.
I think another game you are excited for is Monster Hunter Rise.
Oh my goodness, do I have a prediction for you on that one? Because I've said it, but I said it before when they announced it during the Game Awards, right? When they were saying that there's going to be a new character announced, and then it happened to be Sephiroth. And I might have been a little bit salty at that point, just a teeny bit, because I was expecting it to be the Monster Hunter. But considering that game is coming out in March, my main thing is that they have to bring out Monster Hunter as a playable character in Smash. They just have to. So my prediction is, before or around the time that Monster Hunter releases, either before or after, because we also have another Monster Hunter game coming out called Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is, even though it has a 2 in the title, it's not really a sequel to the first game that came on the 3DS. It's, I guess, what you would call a spiritual successor. I'm still not sure what they're going to do with it, if it's going to be an action RPG, because the original game was a turn-based one and had a bit of a Pokemon aspect to it, because you could collect the monsters and fight alongside them, because that's the whole thing of Monster Hunter Stories, is that you're not a hunter, you're what they call a rider. So you fight alongside the monsters, or you ride on the monsters. And they're like pint-sized versions of the monsters. So for example, a Rathalos. I mean, I don't know if you've ever played a Monster Hunter game or if you've seen some footage of it.
I've played
The Rathalos is the big red wyvern that shoots flames out of its mouth. And in Monster Hunter stories, it's like this little like 6-foot dragon thing, and it's kind of adorable. And you can ride on it, and you can fight together. And yeah, it's kind of weird because Monster Hunter monsters are huge. That's kind of the whole point of them. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go. I don't know what they're going to do with the gameplay of that, but they did say that there's going to be some cross interaction. If you have the save file for Rise, it'll interact with the save file for Stories and vice versa. I'm assuming it's just cosmetic stuff because that's what they always do. But either before that, during that, or after Rise comes out, they have to announce that Monster Hunter is coming to Smash. That's my big prediction, and if they don't do it, I'll be really sad. But also, I'm really excited for the demo that's coming out later this month. So if you have a Switch, again, and if you've never played a Monster Hunter game, play the Rise demo. I think there's a Monster Hunter World demo on consoles as well. So if you haven't checked out that, you can also check out that as well. There's also a demo for the previous Monster Hunter that came out on Switch, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which is a part of the 3DS game. So I honestly wouldn't recommend that because that actually kind of plays a bit different compared to Monster Hunter World, but same developers. The same guys that made Monster Hunter Generations are the same guys that are working on Monster Hunter Rise. So yeah, we'll see. But from what I've seen from the footage that they've released recently of all the weapons, oh, I'm so happy. Oh my goodness, the weapons are so awesome now because of the whole wire bug functionality that's going on in there. Oh man, a lot of seasoned players say this, but playing Monster Hunter using a Monster Hunter weapon is kind of like playing a Street Fighter character and learning how to use their moveset.
Yeah, I had
because every weapon has their moveset. And my main weapon right now in Monster Hunter World is the Switch Axe. But it wasn't always the case. In Generations on the 3DS and on Monster Hunter 4, it was the Hunting Horn and the Insect Glaive. But I never actually tried to play with the Insect Glaive in World for whatever reason. And I went to Switch Axe and Hunting Horn. And then I kind of left the Hunting Horn because I wasn't really happy with how the Hunting Horn works in World. It didn't feel as natural as it did in the previous games. And the Hunting Horn is really handy, especially if you're playing multiplayer, because you're basically the guy that does the buffs on the characters. So, I don't know. But from what I can see, they're actually revamping how the Hunting Horn works in Rise. So I'm really curious to see how that works, and I'm really curious to play with that. And I might tackle the Insect Glaive, but I'm definitely sticking to what I'm doing right now. So Hunting Horn, Switch Axe, maybe Insect Glaive, and yeah, just have a good old time.
Yeah, I mean, I tried Monster Hunter World, but it's what you say is that you really have to kind of learn how to use all the moves, and that was a bit. I mean, as I said, it was my first Monster Hunter game. It was a bit too overwhelming for me, in which I thought, like, you know what, never mind. And I think if I were to maybe play it with you or someone else that knows about it, I would maybe get into it. I don't know if I'm at that point that I want to get into it, because it's just I make it bigger in my head than it is. That it's just so overwhelming. So that's why I'm a little bit more careful.
And this is from the past games, and even at something that I do agree to in this case is that Monster Hunter as a series is a game that you play with a sensei. So basically a seasoned player of the games that can guide you through it and play with you so that you essentially don't lose interest. Because I've had that same experience before. Because when I played it for the first time, I played Monster Hunter Freedom Unite on a PSP. That's literally the only reason why I bought a PSP.
Wow.
I
know that Monster Hunter was really popular on the PSP.
It really was, because you had ad hoc play and everybody went to like a cafe and then played there, because they had designated places in cafes where people could come together and play Monster Hunter on PSP and then later on 3DS. So like the portable games tend to be way more popular than the console games. That's why Monster Hunter World was such a big deal, because it's the best sold one of the series on console. I think it even outdid Monster Hunter 4, which sold really well even in the West. So that is definitely a game that you need a sensei for. And if you find a good sensei that can explain to you the mechanics and why you should stick with it and is able to be with you along the way, then I know that you'll be able to enjoy the game to its fullest content. Because the story part is only half of it. Once you've beat the story, that's when the game is really open for you, because then you get to do the multiplayer stuff that is really challenging. And that's when you can challenge yourself and your friends to like hunting not just regular monsters, but variants that have different move sets and different attributes and whatnot. And they give some of the best armor parts.
Nice.
So other than that, is there anything else that we kind of want to talk about in predictions?
There's a lot, but I mean, like, I think the most obvious is we're probably going to get a new Switch.
All right, so I guess we have to get into that one. I guess
we have to get into that one because that's the next big thing everybody wants.
Yeah, because the rumors will not stop, and they will not stop.
Why is this always such a burden on you when we talk about this topic? Like you are actually the one that is making the Switch, and you constantly get asked about, hey, when's the Switch Pro coming out? And you constantly have to deny it, like, no. There's no
sorry.
Switch Pro. No. And then you get locked up into your bunker again, and they tell you you can't leave until you come up with a Switch Pro.
Do you want to know why this annoys the crap out of me?
Yeah.
Because the rumors have persisted since the Switch launched. That's one, right? I've been constantly hearing about a Switch Pro, or what it has transformed into is the new Switch or the next Switch, which makes a lot more sense than the Switch Pro at this point.
I don't think Nintendo will use that name.
I don't think they will also use that name. My fear is that they're gonna call it the new Nintendo Switch, and then I'm gonna have to slap someone in the face for that one. But also, people who know me as a Nintendo fan keep coming up to me and asking me about, have you heard anything about the new Nintendo Switch or the new or the Switch Pro? Do you know anything about it? I'm like, I am just a fan, just as you are. I am not an industry man. I don't know what I would be honored to be someone in the industry, like have industry insiders who feed me information. That sounds really cool, but I think that those people that have those industry insiders also have a secret hatred for it. Not so much hatred, but more of a feeling of dread, because they know stuff that they can't talk about in public until it's been announced.
Yep. And
if they dare to say something about it, the video game ninjas will descend upon them and take everything they hold dear to their hearts.
Besides their life.
Besides their life, you know, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah. So for the past 3 or so years, people come up to me and ask if I know anything about it or when it's coming out, and every time to say, I know as much as you do. I have no idea. I'm also just reading.
But I think it's because you're.
I'm just sick and tired of hearing it.
No, but you're like a passionate fan, and if like you you're a go-to guy to ask those things to, because people know like, oh yeah, but he's a fan and he knows a lot of stuff about it. And then you're kind of a victim of your own success, that people just come up to you like, oh, well, he'll probably know, so why don't we ask him? I mean, people ask me stuff about PlayStation as well, and I'm like, I just give them my 2 cents, because I mean, I think it's more of a, you look at everything you have, you look at all the data you have, you look at historical things they've done, you just like try to gather everything you know, and based on that you make a prediction. But at the end of the day, it is just a prediction. I mean, that's all you can do at this point. There's not like you get a secret letter under your door, and it's like, you can only talk about this after a certain date, or if you mention a single word of this, we will make you disappear and the world will never hear from you again, or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we'll ship you up to the Mushroom Kingdom or something.
I would actually I'd enjoy that.
It's funny. I made this joke once to someone, and he really couldn't appreciate it. I had to perform a chat for something, and that person that reached out to me was called Mario. So he's like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm doing good. How are you? How's life in the Mushroom Kingdom?" And then he said, "You're really funny." And I said, like, "You must get this all the time." He said, "I get this every day, the whole day." I'm like, "I'm really sorry, but you can't. I just can't help it." And at the end, I was really happy with the way he helped me. So I said, "One up for you, Mario. Thank you so much. Enjoy life in the Mushroom Kingdom." And then he disconnected. I'm like, I don't think he liked that one up.
Wow. I can imagine that he did not appreciate that last one.
But like, it's the one up for the mushroom. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Next Switch. They kind of have to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, the rumors from a couple of months ago was developers have been told by Nintendo that they should make their games 4K ready. So not 4K, just ready for like whatever it is that they're gonna do with whatever, right? So the most logical thing is upscaling to 4K, which is I think possible with the current I think the current Tegra chipset that Nvidia does 4K upscaling in the Nvidia Shield. So if they were going to switch to that chipset, then there's a possibility of that happening, which is really cool and great. Because I feel that the Switch still has a lot to offer, and not a lot of people are utilizing, like I said, the full potential of the Switch. For example, Ring Fit Adventure. Did you know that game uses amazing HD rumble to give you feedback on the stuff that you do? It's really good because you have to put one of the Joy-Cons in a strap that you strap to your left leg. And when you're doing leg exercises, it vibrates to give you an indication of how you're doing the exercise.
Wow.
Which is really cool. The same thing also goes for the ring. You put one on the ring con, and when you squeeze it, you feel like the feedback of the ring itself, but the HD rumble also adds a little bit of feedback to that too. Especially when you're going through menus, you use the ring con to go up and down, so you turn it, and the click of the wheel is what you feel.
Oh, that's nice.
That's really cool. Another one that I did not expect, and I was gonna tackle it, but I want to bring it up now as an example for HD rumble. Among Us on Switch uses HD rumble.
What?
Really well.
For what?
For environmental stuff. So, for example, one of the levels, I think it's not Polaris. Not the Skell, because that's the ship. I forget the second one. The one where you have the lava pit.
Yeah.
When you get closer to the lava pit, you can feel the heat come. Well, it's kind of weird saying it that way because you clearly don't feel heat. And if you do, you should have your Switch checked out because that's not what is supposed to happen. But the HD rumble replicates the sensation, what you would feel in the air if you were near a bubbling cauldron of lava.
That's pretty cool.
That's the best I can do to explain it. And anything that has a specific feel to it, for example, heavy doors opening, you can feel it swifting open really heavily and going tonk.
Wow.
And you're like, oh, that feels really, that like, it adds to the immersion of doing the chores.
You feel something when you kill somebody?
I've only been the imposter once so far. And I've only killed 2 people, and I was way too nervous to notice if you feel something when you kill someone. You do feel it when you get killed.
Okay,
so that's fun.
You've been killed a lot.
It's just like a like, for example, if they use the animation where you get stabbed through the head. Yeah, you feel like a sharp think.
Oh, that's nice.
And if you get the laser, you feel like a consistent rumble, like.
Oh, nice.
And then you're dead. And
I like the one with the gun where he just pulls out a gun, he cocks the gun, and he shoots you in the head.
I haven't been killed that way yet, so I have no idea if you feel like a gunshot wound to your head or something like. But yeah, it's really crazy.
Nice.
It's really crazy that they did that, and
I didn't expect it.
Neither did I. So again, kudos to the indie developers that are actually maximizing the potential of a system. Big developers over here. Learn something from the developers from Among Us.
But I have to say, and that's the same with the haptic triggers on Assassin's Creed. I feel, and maybe it's because I'm paying a lot of attention to it because I want to know it. But in Valhalla, they've only recently added a haptic feedback to the triggers in the latest update, came out 2 weeks ago, and that's when you're racking your bow. But it is so subtle that you don't notice it a lot. And besides that, I don't, and maybe that's because I'm paying a lot of attention to it, I don't feel as much. It feels like there's less rumble in these games than on the PS4, for example. Because I would expect when I hit my axe against someone's shield, I would feel that in a different way. And maybe if I hit their shield in a specific area, that only that part of my controller would give me feedback instead of the whole controller. I'm like, there's so much possibilities with this, but nobody's using it besides the first party, and that's such a shame.
Yeah, so the whole thing with that is, I think they're using just the standard API that comes with the DualSense to do that. And also, the HD Rumble has a similar thing, where if you're playing something with, for example, the Pro Controller, the rumble feels way more subtle than it does in traditional rumble, and that literally has to do with how HD, haptic feedback works.
Pro Controller have HD rumble?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool.
It's the same thing as in the Joy-Cons, but that's the whole thing, right? The way that haptic rumble works is way different than just like a spinning motor.
Yeah.
It's an accentuator that does it very subtly. So even with more intense games, unless they specifically tune it to be intensive, it's not.
Yeah, that's why I like the part in Astro. When you first play Astro, the DualSense kind of gets built up from little cubes, and then you feel it just being built up in your hand, and they really nailed that part. It's really nice.
Yeah. Again, that's why honestly, that's why I'm really, really want to play the PlayStation 5 just to play Astro's Playroom and experience that. I'm really curious about the DualSense.
I had to get used to the controller because I love the DualShock 4, but now that I've been able to put in some time, I never expected it to have this. Also because just the way it fits in your hands and the feel. The only thing I have is I want a black DualSense because that just looks so sleek. I just can't get over the dual tone. And I mean, I saw a retro PS2 skin or a PS2 in PS5 PS2 skin as well for the controller. And that just looks so amazing. I'm like, oh my God, if my PS5 could look like a PS2, it would look so nice.
Oh, it has the color scheme to work for it with the blue lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
oh man,
yeah.
I think we've predicted enough. We've almost been at it for 90 minutes.
And we still have to do what we've been playing.
Yeah.
Wow, and we thought it was going to be short.
Oh,
There are a few quick things I want to bring up, not to discuss it, just to bring it up as a prediction. We still haven't heard anything about Bayonetta 3. We know that they're working on it.
Yeah.
But when that's going to come out, I don't know. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year. I honestly don't know. We know that they're working on stuff, like you said before, they're working on stuff at Sony. What I predict is that we might see either enhanced versions coming out of certain games.
Last of Us Part 2.
For example, like Last of Us Part 2. So, though I think what they'll do for those is one of two things, is that either they bring it out and it's a reduced cost, I hope, or if they were really charitable, is basically give you the chance to upgrade from your current version, which I highly doubt that they would do that, or at least I highly doubt they do it for free. Other than that, we have, no, not Sony.
Oh, I have a nice prediction. I have a nice prediction. We might actually see something for Anthem next, or Anthem 2.0, or whatever it's called.
Good point.
Because it's been in February, it will be 2 years.
2 years, yeah. I think you're right. I think we might see something about that, but I don't think we're gonna hear anything about it until middle of the year.
Yeah,
when EA has their EA Play.
Yeah, they're doing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is all 3 Mass Effect games, and it's supposed to come out in the spring, which I think starts in March. So
yeah,
that'd be nice.
That would be nice. The other, speaking of games of that caliber, we also have what do we also have to look forward to in that sense? Right. We also have a few things to look forward to as well from the JRPG side of things. Tales of Arise was supposed to come out last year, but then it got delayed. But we haven't heard hide nor hair from it. They've shown some footage here and there, but not a lot. So if it's going to come out this year, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure we'll hear more about that, because that game has been in development for quite some time. And it's a really big shift because it's going full action JRPG. So people are really looking forward to that and see if they actually are able to pull it off. Because I still personally feel that their move to 3D was not as successful as they hoped it would be. Not that they made bad games, but I feel like they could have been better. I've been playing Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition on Switch. It's a good game, but I think maybe having a seamless open world where you could do complete action-based battles will be better for them, because it's always been an action RPG, but with random encounters. And if you take the random encounters away, I think it's going to be a way better experience for that. We are supposed to be seeing two games from the Shin Megami Tensei franchise. So Nocturne, the remake for that, is already out in Japan. That should be coming out sometime this year as well in the West. Apparently there are some performance issues with the game in the Japanese version, so hopefully when that comes out, they've solved that problem. And of course, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is also slated for this year. We also only have one trailer for that one as well, so hopefully it's going to come out this year. Curious about how that's going to be like, because Shin Megami Tensei 4 was really good on the 3DS. And I'm really curious about what they're doing with Shin Megami Tensei 5 in terms of gameplay and story. And that's it for some of my predictions.
Nice. I don't have any. I mean, I've talked about things I'm looking forward to, and that's basically it.
All right. So stick around, people, and we'll be right back with what we've been playing.
Alrighty, welcome back to our second segment. What have you been playing? As always, what have you been playing, Maximilian?
Well, I've been playing. I've actually been finishing some games actually quite lately. But let me just start of the stuff that I've actually been playing. So over the past week, I had the pleasure of actually playing some Among Us finally.
Yeah,
and I mean like
finally.
a proper match because I actually did play it before, once with random people on my phone.
Oh, nice. But it's never the same when you play it with people you know, because you can tap into the personal stuff. At least that's what we always do.
And it was around the time when the craze was really taking off, and it was more of just trying to figure out what it was, and there was no voice chat. So I played it and was like, okay, I don't really get it until I saw gameplay of people playing it. And I was, oh, okay, so this is not something that you just play with randoms because it's not as interesting or fun. And I was telling you about my experience about this before, and I got to be the imposter once throughout the entire session, and I was so nervous. I survived one round of voting, which
nice.
Lucky me, mostly because I'm so innocent. But I was so nervous into like trying to throw people off because that is not a thing that I'm good at. Maybe I should not say that actually. Dang. So at the second time when I killed my single person, they figured out that it was me, and then they ejected me. But there are some times that were just so there's this one guy. We both know this guy, right? And
is it the rocket scientist?
No, it's not the rocket scientist because he did not get a chance to even be it. Okay. Like he had like the whole session. I think we played for about 2 hours or so.
Yeah,
he was never the imposter.
Oh, that's too bad.
No. It's let's call him D.
Okay.
Yeah. So D, mutual friend. And this one was really funny because there was a sabotage, as always. This was, I think it was in the Polaris level. The big ship with the balcony.
Yeah.
And there was an emergency in the reactor room. So everybody, and I do mean everybody, goes into the reactor room. I was behind, so by the time I got there, everybody was already in the reactor room trying to get the reactor back in order.
Yeah.
What happened then is that everybody then, after that happened, was kind of scurrying about. I was the only one that left, and D was following me.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, oh, this bastard is the imposter. And sure enough, when we got away just far enough, he killed me and instantly did a self-report.
Oh, I love those.
Unfortunately, because we were the only ones missing at the point, they all knew that it was him.
Yeah. You always have to do it with people around. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I mean, I've had instances, and I've had instances in which I'm in, I perform the kill, and then I just run away because I need to kind of create the sense that I'm walking into the room and seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Then I just run away, and then, for example, in electrical, I just vent out, and then people don't see me, and then I walk back in, and then I see somebody walk out of electrical because they haven't seen the body yet. And then I do the self-report, I'm like, yeah, I saw Max leaving electrical, and there was a body, and I don't know why he didn't self-report it. And there was like, people are like, what? And then if you're lucky, people will jump on it, and they'll say like, yeah, but Max has been running out for a while, and he hasn't been doing any tasks, and I don't know why. And I'm like, I don't want to accuse him or anything, because I use that tactic a lot. I don't want to accuse him. I'm just calling out what I see, man, and I'm seeing this and this and this. And then if you pull it off, you will get ejected, and then I would have had a double kill. I've killed once with my blade, for example, and one through a vote, and then it just makes it out easier. And then in the end, if I'm really, really tight, I use some dirty tricks. I wouldn't call them dirty tricks, but I pull off an oxygen alert, and then I go towards the button, and then I just wait for another person to appear, and then I slash that person, and then the timer just counts down, and then I win.
Oh man, the first few games, I did like literally the first game. I did not notice that there was a dead body in electrical.
Yeah, you always
I wasn't electrical. There were 2 other people there, and the one that got killed was the rocket scientist.
Oh no!
And he, after that first round, he's like, "Did you not see my body?" I'm like, "No, I did not see your body. I was at electrical because the lights went out, so I tried to fix it. Then someone else fixed it, and I went my way. I did not notice your stupid body." And it happened twice, actually.
Electrical is like the favorite killing spot of an imposter because it's really hard to see people there, or you can even do like a self-report with a third person in the room, and then you can accuse the third person in the room. And if you're good at lying, you can get the third person ejected.
Someone tried to do that, and they got caught.
Yeah,
because I was there. Well, I was there, but I was also the one that was killed. But the other person noticed it and was like, "No, it's that guy."
I see that they've added new stuff because it's been a while since I played it, but I see that they've added things like proximity chat and stuff like that. So you should be able to do more now. So I'm really curious to see if it's changed the experience a bit, because one thing I really miss in the game is when you play with 2 imposters, is for a way for the imposters to just communicate with each other so they can come up with a tactic. Because sometimes you want to do a double kill with the second imposter, and you kind of have to hope or feel each other, and you're like, okay, if I kill this person, will he understand that he needs to slice the other one as well? Because otherwise I'm screwed, and then it's my word against theirs, and if you're unlucky, the other imposter will turn on you because he'll be like, yeah, but we need to win the game, and if I have to sacrifice you for the greater good, I will, because we want to win this game. I've had those instances as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a shame you couldn't be there. Gizmo was there.
Oh, nice.
And he was it a lot.
Yeah,
he got called out a lot.
Yeah, I've had instances in which when I think in the first week that I started playing it, in one evening we played it for like 2 or 3 hours. I was the imposter 4 times in a row, and because of that, nobody trusts me anymore. So if I play with the other group of friends of mine, they're always like, they eject me first because they just don't trust me. So I have to put in a lot of effort to convince them that I'm not the imposter, even when I am. So yeah, I mean, it can work against you if you're the imposter too often.
Yeah, and that was the first thing that I learned is, like, literally pay attention to everything that you do.
Yep.
Make a mental note of every step that you take and everything that you do, because people are going to use it against you. So, like, because the first time it happened, I was trying to explain to them like what I did, but it was like, oh wait, I kind of did like a bunch of stuff, and I only remember like the most important stuff, which is the tasks, And I've never played the game fully, so I don't know what all these tasks are. So that was a bit of a challenge, but as the game went on, you learn more about the tasks that you can do.
Yep.
You learn about things that can get sabotaged. So, in the end, it was a lot of fun, and hopefully next time you'll be there and then we can do it again. And it's fun. Like, if you're trying. People rediscovered this game at the perfect time. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
People rediscovered this game at such a great time. And them winning the awards that they did at the Game Awards, honestly, despite the fact that the game didn't come out last year, is actually completely justified. Because if it came out when it did, and people noticed it back then, I don't know if they would have won or even gotten nominated. But since it happened, since people rediscovered it in a time where it was basically the perfect storm for it, it's really great to see that they're doing that. I think that's also the reason why we're seeing the console versions pop up, starting with the Switch. And again, like I said, if you insist on playing the console version whenever the other console versions come out, just remember the Switch version has really good haptic feedback with the HD Rumble, which I'm assuming they'll do with the PlayStation 5 version when that comes out.
If it comes out, because I don't know if it's gonna come out.
Because I know that they're putting a version out on Xbox.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's going to
come to Game Pass. So I think they'll also be doing it for PlayStation 5. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah,
they're like 3 people.
How did you play it on the Switch?
Yeah.
How does it work with doing the tasks? Do you have to use the controls and the touchscreen, or only the touchscreen, or
you can use both?
Okay, that's one of the things. Like, how do the tasks work with? I mean, like the task where you have to turn knobs, I can imagine that you have to do like your analog sticks, but like the task where you have to connect wires, is that like just pressing the right button or something? Or
so I haven't gotten that task yet with the wires. For example, one of the things is redirecting power to a certain part of the ship, and that is it automatically highlights which lever that you have to increase, and you use the right analog stick for the most time to push it up or down. Some do use the analog sticks to like shift together, or you get like this big indicator that you move with the left analog stick, and then you use the right analog stick to, like, for example, flick debris into the chute, into the garbage chute. Or you press the button on the screen, or you press the button with the A button, and it like does things. So they've made it work with controls, but since you can't play in handheld mode, they also made sure that in handheld mode you can still use the touchscreen. Although I feel that I played mostly with just the controls because they work just fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that's one of the things I was worried about.
Yeah. So, like, for example, navigation is just pointing where it needs to go, and then to the other one, and then to the other one. Like, that's it. Nice. Relatively simple. So it works. I would say, if outside of the HD Rumble, they figured out how to make the controls work with a controller. So I don't think anybody should worry when it comes to consoles. But the plus side to when it comes to consoles is that if you're all playing on consoles, you probably have voice chat, and it'll make it a bit more easier to do that way, because we had to use Zoom to do like the voice chat stuff. Does the game itself support voice chat?
I don't know. But did you do the also turning on the camera with Zoom?
Yeah, so we turn off the camera when everybody's doing their thing, and if there's a report, you turn the camera and the mic back on. If you're dead, your camera and mic stay off.
Because my normal squad, let me put it that way, the people I normally play with, we just do it through Discord, just with audio. But when I play with that group, with Zoom and then the camera on, if you're the imposter, it's even harder to keep a straight face, because you're like, sometimes normally through Discord, if I have to laugh, I just turn off my mic and then I laugh and I turn my mic on. But now with the Zoom and the camera and you're looking at each other, I'm like, oh man, I have to keep a straight face. It's so hard not to laugh or to give away that I'm the imposter. It does add like an extra layer to the game, which is really, really fun.
Exactly. They were so mean, and I still don't have an answer to this. But so this happened also when I was the imposter. They said that they could see that I was the imposter because the screen of my Switch was reflecting in my glasses. And I don't know if that was true or not, because even if that was the case, the resolution from the reflection that you're seeing on your screen should not be anywhere near high enough to see if I'm the imposter.
I think if I remember correctly, your name is red when you're the imposter.
Yeah.
And that's how they might have seen it.
And that's the thing, because they didn't answer, like, how are you seeing that? Like, if they actually saw it. So I never got a straight answer.
Yeah.
So after that, I was, like, really careful with
where to put your Switch.
Making sure that when the camera is on, that it's not tilted in the way that it's reflected on my glass.
But the funny thing is like, I used to play it on mobile before I bought it on the PC. And I mean, when you're playing it on a phone, I mean, I have big hands, so sometimes my thumb goes in the wrong place on the screen. So I've had instances in which it took me longer to complete a task, and because of that, people got suspicious because they said like, "Hey, but you're doing that task. It shouldn't take too long to do that task." And then I said like, "Yeah, but I'm playing on a phone." And like, no, we don't believe you. And boop, they would just eject me. I'm like, "But I'm not even the imposter. It just took me longer because I'm playing on a phone." And they're like, "No, that's not possible. You're just the imposter." So mean.
I got ejected once because they thought that I was the imposter, and that was in one of the earlier rounds. And I was like, you know what? Good, fine, whatever. Good luck. They ejected me, and then we lost that round.
Yeah, but if they do that to me, if it's happened a couple of times, I really go into I turn mean. Then I'm like, you know what? And I start cursing. I'm like, I hope you all die because I'm not the imposter, and I hope he kills you all. And then you just follow. You know who the imposter is, of course. At that moment, you just follow them around. And if you lose, I'm like, hey man, you ejected me. I don't care if we lost. Yeah, so personal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh man, it's so good. I want to play that again sometime soon. All right. So outside of that, I've finally actually recently finished Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. And to say that I am absolutely shocked at how the story went is a bit of an understatement, because I'm not going to spoil anything here because I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't played it yet, or haven't even... Actually, you know what? I had an interaction recently that that made me realize that talking about Hyrule Warriors to people that haven't played Breath of the Wild is kind of a spoiler.
Okay.
Finishing it, it's the worst kind of spoiler. And if you were thinking, oh, this is because this is, according to Nintendo, canon to the Breath of the Wild mythos, and you think, okay, it's a prequel, let me play the prequel, I'm telling you right now, do not play the prequel until you've played Breath of the Wild.
Really?
Because, yeah, no. Like, in as least words I can possibly say without spoiling it, is that if you have not played Breath of the Wild and you decide to play Hyrule Warriors as the first game in the series of that story, this is your warning. You are going to see stuff that when you play Breath of the Wild will make no sense.
Okay.
If you've played Breath of the Wild, it still doesn't make sense, but it brings up way more interesting questions when you do. Because now I have way more questions about how the sequel, and that's why I'm not calling it Breath of the Wild 2 anymore. This is truly going to be a sequel. What that means, who knows? I don't know what they're planning. Now that I look back at the trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild, I'm like, this brings up way more questions than it used to. After Age of Calamity, it brings up way more questions, and it should not have done that. Because the way the game's story is being presented should not lead to the end. Not even just the ending, but the story structure that we followed. Everything for the first, I think there's 8 or 9 chapters. For the first 3-4 chapters, it makes sense if you've played Breath of the Wild. Basically, after chapter 4, it makes no sense.
Okay.
And that is as vague as I can be, and even that, I feel like I just spoiled like a whole bunch of stuff for people. So I don't even know anymore. So I'm gonna leave it at that, at least for Age of Calamity. If you haven't played it yet, have you played Breath of the Wild? First of all, welcome. Go play that first. Then pick up Age of Calamity, and then we can talk, because there are a lot of questions that I need answers to, and I think the sequel will give those answers. But in the meantime, I think I might actually do something that I don't normally do, and is dive into a Reddit where they do conspiracy theories on game stories and see if they can give me some answers, because I have so many questions. And the only other thing that I've been playing, I know that I said I was playing Nier Automata, but I haven't played in a while, mostly because of the holiday, so I wasn't home often. And to be fair, I'm playing on a base PlayStation 4, and doing remote play of that game is not so pretty in remote play, because it puts out in 720. It outputs in 720p, which means if the connection gets weaker, the footage looks worse.
Oh man!
And it's a really pretty game, and it kind of soils it. With Spider-Man, it was okay because Spider-Man is very colorful, and that works to its advantage. But for example, I couldn't play God of War in remote play because it just didn't look pretty. The same for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I tried playing that remote play just for funsies, and it wasn't funsies because the game looked awful in 720p.
Yeah.
Especially when artifacting started happening, which is something that happens with remote play. But then again, my internet back then was still kind of crappy. I got better internet now, so I have less of a issue with artifacting. But the 720p downgrade is not worth it. So I haven't touched that one in a while. I should go back to that. I should finish that one. But I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to play next on my Switch. I've got plenty of options, but I don't know. I need to narrow it down somehow. Hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this, it has been narrowed down. So I don't know. But the other thing I've been playing is Monster Hunter World, because I'm just that excited about Monster Hunter Rise. Whenever I see anything about Rise, I get super excited and I want to slay some monsters. So I've been doing that with my buddy. We've done some sessions. I've played on my own for a couple of bit, and basically what I'm trying to do is just get through that story so that we can get to the real good quality hunts. And I still have the base Monster Hunter World. I want to finish the base game before I even decide if I'm gonna pick up Iceborne. But considering that Rise is coming out, I might not even pick up Iceborne. I might just skip that altogether, just do the base game, get the armor that I want, get that done, and then just wait for Rise to come out and then play that instead. So that's been fun. I'm almost done getting a Rathalos armor set. I got the weapon. I got the Switch Axe Rathalos axe. That was a bit of a challenge to get, but I finally got all the parts necessary to make that weapon, which is really cool. Like I said, I want to get back into learning how to play Hunting Horn, but I think I'm going to leave that for the Rise demo that comes out later this month. When, I don't know. Seriously, Capcom, just give it to us already.
It'll probably be soon.
I'm assuming, because they said it's a limited demo, whatever that's supposed to mean. Are you going to release it in a limited time? Is it going to have a time limit? What does that wording mean? I don't know, and it kind of annoys me. But other than that, yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's still good.
Yeah, it's still good.
Yeah,
What about you, Chief?
I have one of those dips again that I just don't feel like playing anything. But before I kind of went into the dip, let me see. I think I mentioned last time that I finished Watch Dogs Legion, and I was playing Yakuza Kiwami 2, so I finished that one. I'm really, really a big fan of the Yakuza games, and I want to play the whole collection. So I think the Kiryu Saga is until Yakuza 6, and there's also a prequel, Yakuza 0, I think. So 3, 4, 5, 6, I want to play them. I haven't bought them yet, but I do have them on my list. And then after I finished Kiwami 2, I bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because I'm an Assassin's Creed fan. I think I've played them all besides the Rogue one. I still want to play that one as well. And the funny thing is that, and a lot of people say this, I've spoken to that play the game, they say either that they don't like the game or that the game feels just a little bit too different, especially if you played Odyssey, which was a really, really good one. this game just feels different compared to Odyssey, and it feels so massive in scale, but at the same time it feels a little bit empty, whereas it felt like in Odyssey it was the world lived more. So I think I'm in around 14 hours, and how it works is you pick your character, Eivor, either a female or a male character, and then the first 6 hours of the game is in Norway, which is already pretty big. And after those 6 hours, you go to England with your tribe, and then or with your clan, and then the whole of England is well, the whole of England, but a large part of England is available to you. I'm still puzzling it out. I'm not that far ahead, I think, or at least it doesn't feel like that. It's really nice that they've improved on the combat system. You can mix it all up. You can have dual wielding weapons. So like in Odyssey, it was like you either had a sword or you had dual wielding swords, and then they would be faster in attack but lower in damage. Or you could have a spear, for example. Here you can just mix it up. You can have an axe and a hammer, or an axe and a shield, or even a shield and a shield. I don't know why you'd want that, but you can. I mainly use a two-handed axe because it deals the most damage. A thing that they finally added that I felt that Assassin's Creed always should have had but never had, and it sounds maybe weird, but it just fits into the whole combat system, is dismemberment. So you can, in previous games you couldn't, but now in this Assassin's Creed game you can, when you do finishers, he chops off arms, legs, heads. And it sounds pretty gruesome, but before you, I see your face, but before you pull a face like that, I mean, in the first few Assassin's Creeds you had the counter combat system. And those counters were really cool to see. But like, to finish it off, you would expect him to like, okay, but now in this sequence you expect a hand or an arm or a head to be chopped off, because that would kind of be like ending the sequence properly, and it wasn't in there. And now here it is in there, and it's kind of like in God of War, you know, when you pull people apart, or when you, I don't know, do stuff like that. It is part of God of War, and as strange as it sounds, I'm kind of happy that they added to it, because it adds to that Viking gruesome feeling, you know. And I've had finishing moves in which I used the two-handed axe, in which he chopped off both legs and then he chopped off a head, and I was like, whoa, you know, it's gruesome, but it adds something to the game. I don't know why. So there was an unsurprised addition. You don't get a lot of gear as in Odyssey. So in Odyssey you would constantly pick up new gear. And here, I rarely pick up new gear. I think they want to emphasize more that you need to upgrade your weapons as it is. So you need to gather materials for it, and you can upgrade the weapons you already have, which is nice. It
makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to play with the sword. I just haven't been able to find a proper sword, because I like the sword and shield combo. But yeah, I haven't been able to find that one. Exploration is really nice. It still has the synchronization towers into it, so you have to climb up the high places and sync. I mean, that's staple Assassin's Creed. I don't mind.
It's not a Ubisoft game if it doesn't have towers, man.
Yeah, but like, if they took it out of Assassin's Creed, I'd be missing something. I mean, if they add it to other games, I don't miss that, but here I miss it. So it's nice to have it in there, but it's also cool to see that you don't have all your skills from the get-go. So how it works is that your brother from another mother, to put it that way, Sigurd, he's been off in other lands, and he's met other people, and he kind of brings in these two people that are part of the Assassin Order, and they have come to England because the Order of the Ancients is there as well, and they kind of want to take care of it. And they teach you something like the Leap of Faith, which is such a signature move. So you can't do that from the beginning. So I didn't know that. So I fell to my death a couple of times expecting, I can just do a Leap of Faith because that's what you do. But that's a move you have to learn, you know. Same goes for the Hidden Blade. You learn that, or you get that ability the more you progress in the story, instead of just having it from the get-go. I mean, that way it kind of eases you into the Assassin's combat, which is nice. So I like that. But again, I've stopped playing it because I just don't feel like playing games. So I will probably pick it up because I want to see where the story goes. But for now, There's a small hole in Assassin's Creed.
I just think it's hilarious that you have to learn the leap of faith. So
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it. So.
It's like you. It's basically this image. Don't know leap of faith leads to their doom. This is how you do leap of faith. Now you don't die.
Yeah, I know.
Why would that even make sense?
I think they do it from a narrative perspective because you're not an assassin, you're a Viking, and you learn how to do assassin things. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. The other game I've been playing a little bit of is Cyberpunk 2077. I mean,
how's that been going?
Yeah, I mean, they've done another round of hot fixes and patches, and I've played a little bit. Again, I know that the internet is riddled with bugs and whatnot. The funny thing is I'm in a group, and there are some people in there, and they talk about games, but they don't see the full picture, or they don't have the whole story. So yesterday, one of them said, "Oh wow, Cyberpunk 2077 looks so awful. It's such an ugly game. Even GTA 4 or 5 is better than that game and more polished." And I'm like, you're comparing apples to oranges. This is seriously not the right comparison to make. And you do realize that this game has sold 13 million copies regardless of refunds. So they're still doing something good. I have some issues with the game. If I do an alt-tab, for example, it crashes. Not that I do those often, but the few instances that I had to do it, the game crashed on me. And, I mean, there are some minor visual things in the game that happen that just take me out of the experience. So I don't mind just waiting out a little bit longer for some bigger patches to come out, because that way I'll at least be able to experience the game fully. So I don't mind. But so far, I mean, I like the game. It's gorgeous. It really plays nice. You can approach a lot of scenarios in different ways, which I really like. My character is more of the... I mean, and I can't go into too much details because I'll spoil a lot, but there's a mission in which you have to steal an item, and you can either stealth your way through the mission, or you can just go Rambo and guns blazing. And I just made a quick save, and I tried both ways because I wasn't sure if it was possible. But eventually I was able to stealth the whole mission and also learn other tricks while I was doing it. So that really added something to my experience, because, I mean, I like having choice in games, and I like if they give me a few options. I don't want the sky's the limit, do whatever you want, because then I get overwhelmed with choice. But here I really liked that there was just a few paths you can just take, and they've added so much. There's just a lot of density in the world. You know, it's not a super big open world, but it's a living open world, and they really sell you on it. And that's just so cool to see. I mean, there are instances in which I'm just walking across the street, and then I hear gunshots, and I'm looking and I see like these gangs fighting with each other, and you can just mingle in and fight with them, or you can just stealth them, or, you know, you can. It's a crazy mix, but I have a revolver with a silencer on it, which just looks crazy, but it deals a lot of damage. And then my character looks hideous because at this point I'm just equipping the things with the most stats, not because I want the coolest looking character, but I want the best spec'd character. So eventually I do hope to get kind of like stuff that looks really cool on my character, because my V looks pretty badass. And it's also cool because I play as the Corpo life path. So it's cool to see that if you spec into certain things, you can give certain answers that are specific to your life path. My character is a bit cocky, so you can just, you know, give those smart ass answers sometimes, which adds something to it. I mean, I'm a fan of Cyberpunk. I would say if you have the game on if you want to play the game on the PS4 or on Xbox One, just wait out until those big patches come out. They will probably make the experience even better. If you are a PS5 owner and you want to play the game, wait till the PS5 version comes out, because that will definitely be the better game. And if you're playing it on PC, you know, just go ahead and play it on the PC. The best version is the PC version, and if you can stand to have a few minor issues or small thingies, then that doesn't hold you back. Then go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
totally agree on that. Otherwise, wait.
Yeah, I mean, like, you will be rewarded. Yeah, your patience will be rewarded. You know, I mean, just wait it out. And I mean, I'm even thinking about buying the PS5 version when it comes out because I want to be able to experience the game on my PS5 as well because that's how much I like the game. And I rarely buy games twice.
Yeah.
Unless it's Sleeping Dogs. And besides that, I played the Epic Game Store had their Christmas giveaway, so they give a game away every day. And I got Jurassic World Evolution yesterday. I really loved the game.
I missed like 10 games.
Oh, I missed them a lot.
I started, and then I just, when the holiday hit,
I had the same thing. I was able to claim Inside because I wanted to play that game. But the funny thing is there was this list floating around before the actual list came out. And there were games on that list like Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding. And I was like, whoa, they cannot have done this. If they did this, they threw a lot of money at it, you know? And then it turned out to be something completely else, but still nice games on it. And I played a little bit of Jurassic World Evolution, which is made by the people behind Roller Coaster Tycoon and Planet Coaster and Elite Dangerous. And it's really fun. You just have to build a Jurassic Park, and you're actually on the islands of the game, of the movie. And, you have to research fossils, and that way you can make your dinosaurs, and you can even genetically modify the dinosaurs to have different traits. I'm not that far that I can do that. You can research upgrades, and you can upgrade the park, and there are like 3 divisions: the entertainment, the security, and the scientist division. And they offer you contracts for money because you need money to operate the park. But doing certain things with one might decrease your standing with the other. And you can send your dig teams all over the world to recover fossils you can use to increase the genomes of the dinosaurs. I even had a moment in which I had a couple of dinosaurs walking around in my park, and then I had a carnivore dinosaur, kind of like a mini T-Rex. And then all of a sudden I get this notification that one of my dinosaurs' health is low. I'm like, what? And I look, and this carnivore is just attacking my other dinosaurs, and he started feeding on them. I'm like, what the hell? But this is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be nice and play along. And then I thought, like, but this is just the way nature works. It's survival of the fittest, you know? And then I was like, oh no, my dinosaur is dead. And then the funny thing is you can build a ranger station, and then those rangers can fix stuff or tranquilize dinosaurs or even help your dinosaurs when they have a disease. And you can just take over one of those Jeeps and you can just drive around in the game. That was really cool. You can see everything up close. And you can take pictures of the dinosaurs, which are even certain missions you have to do. Or like, whoa, this game is so extensive. There's so much stuff to do. And I mean, growing up with Jurassic Park, I don't know, this was like a kid's dream come true.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, just while you were doing that, I also claimed my copy.
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, you know what? Let me see if it's available on GeForce Now, because that's how I play most of my PC games these days.
You are, I think...
It's on there for Steam. And only the Steam version.
That sucks.
Oh, also learned something really annoying, which I should have brought up sooner. So I've been playing a lot on GeForce Now, and I keep talking about how great I find it. By the way, we're not sponsored by them. I'm not sponsored by them. I just really love the service because I have a crappy 10-year-old PC. Don't at me. However, I found out something really annoying recently. Games that do not support any kind of backup in the cloud, like, for example, if you're playing a game that you bought on Steam, Steam Cloud, will not have your saves.
So how do you save your saves?
You don't.
But how can you continue on playing the game?
It always starts you with a new save.
Oh, that's like having a PlayStation 1 without a memory card.
And I found out when I played Astroneer. Because Astroneer on Steam does not support Steam Cloud. So for the developers for Astroneer, I love your game. I really want to play more of it on GeForce Now. Please support Steam Cloud. I would really appreciate it. And I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate it because, for example, when Kerbal Space Program was still on GeForce Now, that supports Steam Cloud, and I could play with my base, and that was really awesome. I could just pick up where I left off. The same goes for Tomb Raider, the 2013 one, which I finally finished. I talked about that the last time, which I played on ultra settings with the NVIDIA physics engine on, so the hair was like flapping in the wind and stuff. It looks really cool. It looks really cool.
I know. At the time, I loved it.
I had to look it up again from when it came out. The game came out in 2013. Looks really good.
Yeah.
It holds up.
Yeah.
On max settings, not on my crappy rig, where it ran on like I think 15 frames per second.
Oh,
so
nice. That's like the ultra.
Astroneer was worse.
Yeah.
It ran at 5 frames per second.
Oh
on
my.
the computer.
Wow. But maybe that's because they use voxels and it needs to calculate more, and it's also procedurally generated.
Yeah.
Astroneer is fun.
It's fun. It's basically the same issue that I had with Kerbal. That's why I still cry. I still shed a single tear every day that Kerbal is still not back on GeForce Now.
The worst part is Kerbal 2 got pushed to like 2022 or something like that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I think it was like last year that they said that it got pushed to 20. Because if it was going to come out in 2020, then they pushed it to 2021. I think now they pushed it to 22.
I'm sad now.
It is a sad day for Maxemillian X. And on that note,
I know that the rocket scientist, I'm pretty sure he is aware of that, so I know that he's sad. I didn't bring it up.
The funny thing is he was always like, oh, I don't need a game PC, or he was always making fun of us playing on game PCs, and now he wants to get a game PC for himself, and he's super into VR. And now he's like, yeah, I want a game PC, and I want this, and I want that, and I want a 3080, and I'm like, good luck finding a 3080. You're not going to get one. And he's like, well, as soon as I find a 3080, I'm going to build my whole computer. I'm like, oh, no.
You can wait because the 3080 Ti is about to come out. So
yeah, or I was like, I also want to upgrade my graphics card, but it's so hard to get one. I eventually thought, like, you know what? I might as well just wait for the 3080 Super or whatever in the summer, because a lot of people don't buy the Supers because they don't offer that big of a leap. But I'm coming off a 2070 Super, so for me, everything is an upgrade. Yeah, I just want to be able to play Total War Troy or Three Kingdoms in Ultra in 4K at a minimum of 60 FPS. That is just the only reason I want a new graphics card, because a lot of games start supporting DLSS. Oh, and I would love to play Cyberpunk on Ultra 4K. But like a lot of games are starting to support DLSS, which is a huge performance gain, which is really nice. I think like a game like Flight Simulator would benefit tremendously from DLSS.
Yeah. That game definitely did that.
Yeah, because there's no graphics card at this moment that can run that game on 4K Ultra 60 FPS. Maybe if you use two 3090s in SLI, but SLI is on its way out, so...
Yeah.
Crazy. I think we've come to the end, have we not?
Yes, we have.
On that note, I shall take us out. So, thank you for tuning in to this first episode of Season 3 of Game Rivals. It's been an incredible journey, and we will keep on, hopefully with you on this journey, because it's been so much fun. We've been talking to more and more people that are listening to episodes, and it's really fun to hear people mention those early episodes we made where we're like, oh no, we actually said that? Oh no, we have this whole series where we bash Stadia. I'm kind of embarrassed that we did that. So sorry for that. Probably
it's
never
like
going
to an entire year.
Yeah, it's like probably we'll never be able to work with Google now because they know that like, oh, those guys are on the blacklist. But anyways, thank you for tuning in. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Overcast, Chromecast. We're everywhere. You can leave a voice message through the Anchor app or the link in the description. If you do, you don't have to make an account for that. We might even feature you as a game rival. We have a Twitter at game_rivals_. You can find Maxemillian on Twitter at Maxemillian_X.
No, just Maxemillian.
Oh, at Maxemillian. You can email us, gamerivalsfeedback@gmail.com. We have 2 Instagrams. One is the Game Rivals one. That's where I'm mainly at. And then we also have the one for Maxemillian, which is at Maxemillian_X. And I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's been supporting us. I mean, we've reached over 1,000 on the Game Rivals account. Thank you, everybody, so much for your support, your feedback, your lovely messages, your comments. And thank you all so much for forgetting Maximilian. He recently started out his account and he's already at 200. So thank you all so much for supporting him as well. He's got some awesome Nintendo content on his page. So show him the love he deserves because he's just a really nice guy.
Oh, gee, thanks.
I mean, like, hey, it's just cool. And I'm like, I just loved in the beginning when we started using the Instagram. I told you as well. Like at some days I was completely tired when I would lie in bed because you talk to so many people about games, which is really nice because it's a passion. But if you talk about games the whole day, eventually you're like tired. Lying in bed, I'm like, oh my god, my head hurts. I've talked about games the whole day. But in the end, like you build these relationships with people, and there's just so many fun stories and fun things you hear from people. And the fun thing about that is we're hopefully going to be able to do some guest appearances with all these people we've been talking to as well, which makes it even more fun because we've built this kind of Game Rivals community and family, and we're finally be able to interact more with these people. Which hopefully makes it better for you as the audience as well. Because, I mean, you keep hearing from us all the time, but we also think it's really fun to let other people's voices be heard here as well. Because it also changes up the dynamic a little bit instead of us going out about the Nintendo and the Sony game every other 2 weeks. So, thank you for that. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, just my thanks. Legit, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for the support. Like Sean said, reaching 200 within a month of being of starting my account on Instagram, that's just crazy. Hopefully, more of you guys will follow me. More of you guys will. I like talking to you guys online. It's just really fun, having fun conversations about video games and shared interests. It's been a blast. Hopefully, we all. I mean, for us and for me, the podcast is just a big passion, a big thing that we're doing because we love talking about video games. Otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. We're not doing it, to do anything specific other than share the love of video gaming with not just each other, but with all of you guys out there. And, we'd love to hear from you guys. So hopefully as the podcast is growing, hopefully we'll actually get some voice messages because we still don't get anything, but I know that we'll get them in the future. Your feedback is also always appreciated because that's how we can make the show better for you guys as well. And we've got a lot of stuff planned for the next year that we would love to discuss with you guys. We'll talk about it a bit more in the coming weeks, coming months about it. So look forward to that. I know that we've been teasing the YouTube channel a lot, but this year we're really gonna get on that. Starting with something hopefully that you'll see around the time that this episode is out, or when or after the episode is out, you'll probably see that. And yeah. Thanks so much for listening, you guys. And I hope 2020, as annoyingly painful as it was, that you're able to make it through, that your loved ones were able to make it through. And hopefully 2021 will be a bit better, but who knows what the future brings. And all I can say is hopefully, as you've been listening to us now, you continue to listen to us and continue to interact with us. And we continue to just send out the good word that is gaming.
So say we all.
All right.
And on that note, I have been and will always be Sean Templar.
And I have been and will always be Maxemillian X.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Later.